You know how you eventually get a chance to speak with an insurance buyer? You meet with him or her. They want you to offer a quote. I would tell you no problem offering quotes if you get two to maybe three things, depending upon whether you're PNC or EB. But if you don't get this thing, you might as well just, punch yourself in the throat because it's not going to go well with you. You have to have these things. I don't mind you offering a quote to a prospect. Not every account. In fact, most accounts are not going to be a BOR opportunity. If you can get it, that's best. Go for the jugular. But most are not going to be something like that. If you're going to offer a quote to a non-client, to a prospect, you better get these two or three things in order to move forward. If not, you're probably going to get rolled. What are these two or three things? Well, that's what I'm going to be talking about on today's podcast episode. Stay tuned. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Permission Producer School podcast. My name is Charles Specht, and I'm glad that you are here today. As I mentioned earlier, we're talking about two or three things that you need in order to actually go through the process of offering quotes and win, because that's what you want to do. You don't want to come in second place. Second place pays no commission. There are any insurance carriers that pay consolation commission for a loser. You either win or you lose. That's it. You either win and get paid the commission check, or you lose and they pat you on the head and they send you out the door. So you have to be a winner. You have to be able to win. You need to be able to get people fired, the current agent, the incumbent agent, so that you, my friends, can get hired. That's the whole goal of this particular process called selling insurance. Okay? So we want to be able to do it in a wise way so that you can bring on the right types of accounts, loyal accounts, accounts that are willing to do business with you. So I want to just say, you guys probably who are listening, you know this. I spend a lot of time focusing on the broker of record letter. And I think for good reason, because it's really what your prospect, the insured, ultimately wants as well. They don't like having to go and meet with multiple insurance agents. They don't like this. It takes a lot of time. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're looking at. They don't know how to judge the proposals and so forth. Everybody seems like they're speaking French to them when they only understand English. They don't like it. What they would like to do is pick one agent and have full trust in that agent, that agent is going to do the best thing for them. But because they tend not to know that or feel that, they think they have to work with multiple agents in order to get quotes. Well, they would like to just pick one. So the insured likes the idea of a broker of record letter. They just don't know exactly how to do it or who to give it to. That's the problem. It's the rapport. It's the trust. The relationship is simply not there. You set appointments by prospecting. You sell insurance and get broker of record letters based upon relationship. Bad relationship with the incumbent, good relationship with you, you win. Typically, if your relationship is about the same as it is with the incumbent agent, you're probably going to lose. So it's a relationship business at the end of the day. I don't mind you working on accounts via quotes, okay, rather than broker of record letter. I would like it, but it's not a problem. The issue, however, is that I don't want you ever, I don't want you to ever go through a quoting process unless you have these two or three things. Two or three things, you need these in order to really get the kind of results that you want for yourself. There's no reason to let your wheels spin. Just, my friends, do these two or three things and you're going to end up having a much better hit ratio, because you don't like getting rolled. You don't like getting used. You don't want to be the honesty cop for your prospects to keep the incumbent agent working and diligent. What do I mean by that? Well, you've probably, if you've been in the insurance business long enough, you've probably met with a prospect, sat down in his or her office, talked to him on the phone, whatever it is, and they would tell you things that you want to hear. We're looking for a good price. We want to save some money. If you can give us good price and really good service, we're going to make the switch. We would like to do that. We're not going to just give you the insurance right now, but go through a quoting process. Save us some money. You're going to get the business. You got a real good shot at winning this business. They'll tell you that kind of stuff, but they don't really think about what it's like to finally get the quotes done and then think, oh, now I have to have a hard conversation with Bob, my insurance agent, and tell Bob I'm not going to do business with him anymore. And that's a stressful conversation. So most people haven't thought through that yet. Therefore, that's why the hit ratio tends to be pretty low for a competing agent, and it's well over 90% for most agents, and probably, I hope many of you are probably at 95 to 100% retention on all of your clients. It's because it's hard to win new business. So, broker of record letter is best. Is there ever a time when you should only work on BOR and not quote? I always say yes with an asterisk. I think it's always best to go after a broker of record letter only. And if you can't get the BOR, then walk away. And I always tell you, I don't care which insurance carrier they're with, even if you don't have access to it. I ask for the broker of record letter. I don't necessarily tell the insured, I don't have access to that carrier. I ask for the broker of record letter. I go through the whole process, ask for the signed BOR, because if they tell me no, then I have learned so much about the relationship at this point and where mine is not in a very good position. So asking for the BOR should always be asked in the meeting, even if you don't really plan on utilizing it, because it tells you a lot. But if you can't actually do the BOR, can't get the BOR or whatever, and you want to go through a quoting process because you think like, I might have a pretty good shot. It's a decent account, and you know what? That's fine. I have no problem with that. But I would call you foolish if you just go through a blind quoting process, throwing mud against the wall to see what sticks. That's chicken business. You don't want to be in the chicken business just winging it. You want to actually do something that really makes sense. So here's the kind of focus. I say yes, BOR only, but an asterisk. The asterisk is this. If you can't get access to the market, that's one thing. Two is that I say yes for agents that have a larger book of business that's more mature, lots of clients. Let's call it $1 million book. If an agent's got, $750,000, $1 million, a little bit over $1 million book of business, there's no reason to ever go through a quoting process. Okay, unless the only way you can get the business is to place it with your carrier. But I say you just don't go through a quoting process. Most agents that have a really matured book like that, they don't really do a lot of prospecting anymore. They're probably getting a lot of accounts by referral and center of influence. And so they don't really have to go through as much of a quoting process any longer. They probably write fewer accounts, but they're writing very big accounts. And so it's not maybe as much of a deal for them. So I would say that's a bit of an asterisk. But then the other one is, like I say, yes, I want BOR only, but there's some times when it really makes sense. Like I was just talking with an agent right now who he could work on some accounts by BOR, but he's got access to a carrier right now that I just know is 30 to 40% less expensive than everybody. And his agency is one of the few in the state that has it. So it's a pretty good opportunity for him right now. And frankly, there's no reason to waste time taking over a broker of record letter from a carrier that you have and then just replacing the coverage with another carrier, because you're going to make your carrier upset. It's better, for the most part, just to kind of go through that quoting process if all things work out. I might still have them sign the BOR. I just don't process it internally yet. Just depends upon how I'm going to do this. But if you go through a quoting process, I don't mind, but only do it if you can get these 2 or 3 things. Here's the issue. Most agents don't do it. They don't. They don't do it. Here's the thing. You need 3 things if you're a property and casualty agent. You need the last 2 things if you're an employee health benefits agent. So here are the 3 things. 1, you got to get access to the markets that you know you need in order to be competitive. Not as much of a problem for the EB agents who typically have access to any insurance carrier they want, because getting blocked out is not really an issue for them, but it is for P&C. So if you're a P&C agent and for example, just use this as an example. You need travelers for this particular account. If you're going to go through a quoting process because you just know they're competitive. But if the insured's not going to give you access to travelers, they're going to give it to another agent or the incumbent agent, then there's no reason to go forward. So have a conversation when you're talking to the insured about getting ready to offer quotes, saying, I'm willing to go forward, but I need to have exclusive access to be able to work with travelers. I know I'm not going to be able to get the broker of record letter from you on the other markets. That's fine. But I need travelers if I'm going to go forward with the actual quoting process. Will you, Mr. or Mrs. Insured, give me the ability to access travelers exclusively? That would be the first conversation I would have if I'm a property and casualty agent, because if they say, no, I'm going to give that to my current agent, I'm going to let my agent go to travelers, then you know where you're at. There ain't no reason to go forward. So you got to ask the question, pop the question. I want travelers. Can I have it? that's the first thing. That's number one. But like I said, employee benefits, probably not that big of an issue. So that's not the issue for them. The second one and the third one are the ones. The second one, you have to make sure, and I say this is probably the one, the difficult one out of the three, the most difficult, is you have to have a very face-to-face, heart-to-heart conversation with the insurance buyer on what exactly you have to accomplish in your quote so that they guarantee you that they'll fire the other agent and give you the business. Let me say that again. You need to have a very heart-to-heart, concrete, very objective conversation where they say, you have to accomplish A and B and C, and if you accomplish those, I'm giving you my word. I won't renew with the other agent, and I will renew with you. You need to have it. Like, you just need to have it. And I don't want a subjective number. I said objective. I don't want them to say, well, you just need to save me some money, because you might save them 7%. And then they think, I was really kind of hoping you would save me more, like 30%. I'm just, for 7% savings, I'm just going to stay. Well, that's not what you were hoping for, but because you were too weak too afraid, too scared to actually ask what was needed in order to win the business, I don't fault the insured for that. They get to do what they want. They didn't force you to offer quotes. You chose to offer quotes. So I'm just saying, if you're going to go through a quoting process, have the guts, the nerve, the professionalism, and the tact to speak to the prospect and ask them, what is it that I have to accomplish in pricing in order to be guaranteed your business? Not that they'll think about it, but that they won't renew with the other agent and they will renew with you. What do I have to do for price savings, coverage, and then services that we offer? And then I wouldn't move on until they tell you concrete, this is the percentage I want. And like, you feel comfortable enough to move forward. Don't. They might say, well, I want to see like 50% savings. Like, yeah, well, I'm sure you do, but nobody's going to be able to do it. So how about 5%? This is just a negotiation. You don't want to waste your time. You don't want to hurt your relationship with your markets and your underwriters. You don't want to waste your team's time. You don't want to hurt your relationship, with agency ownership. You don't want to waste their time, frankly. You don't want to waste your underwriters' times. So have the conversation with them. Again, it's not easy, but I do believe it's probably one of the most important things. The third thing then is why I decided to actually talk about this particular issue today. I've been thinking about it, talked about it in my group coaching mastermind today, by the way. Wasn't planning on doing this, but hey, here's a plug for the 12X Commission Mastermind. Go to my website. You should come. It is a group coaching format where you have full access to all of my digital courses and content, and I teach everybody the whole process on how to win business and so forth. And I thought we had maybe about 12, 15 people on the call today, and I just went through this process because I had a conversation earlier with a one-on-one coaching client that he got rolled because he didn't do these things. He says that he asked for it early, but he never followed up with kind of reminders, and that's something I'll talk about here in a minute. But got to do it. I talked about it today. I felt like, man, I need to do another podcast episode where we talk about this particular issue, because I know you are probably losing out on about 20 to 30% of the business you work on because either they're telling you or they're just going around your back and sharing your numbers with their current agent. I guarantee you they're doing it. I know it. You don't want it to happen, but it's happening. But if you can handle some of these things, then maybe it won't happen. So the first thing, get all those carriers that you need in order to be competitive, which means that you have to understand your micro niche. You really need to understand the marketplace, who's competitive, who's not, who has holes in their coverage, all of that. You just need to know which carriers you need to have in order to win the business. 2, be very objective, specific about what exactly you have to do, A, B, and C, for example, that they will guarantee to do business with you and not renew with their current agent or anybody else. Very strategic, specific numbers. The third thing here is that you need to ask them and have them agree to it verbally that they will not share your numbers or share your quote with the current agent or any other competing agents. In other words, you're going to spend a lot of time doing this. This is how you earn your living. And I'm just asking you, Mr. Insured, please don't share my numbers. And I would do it in a very tactful way. But I would just ask them, say, hey, look, we just agreed A, B, and C I have to do in order to win your business. Well, really, the only way we can do this is that if everybody just comes in right up front with their best numbers, nobody playing games behind the scenes. I'm going to bring in my best numbers up front. You have your current agent bring in his or her best numbers up front, and the other agent, like, we just come with our quotes and our proposal. And then if I accomplish A, B, and C in that, then you'll guarantee me the win, as you did, in that second part. So I'm just asking that, would you please agree to not share my quote or my numbers, verbally, email, anything like that, with the current agent or any other agent? You know what, frankly, I think most people understand that's kind of rude, but they don't think about it in the heat of the moment. They don't think about it when their current agent gets them on the telephone and says, hey, yeah, I'm kind of getting my, ready to have my quotes ready pretty soon here. By the way, have you received any quotes from anybody else? Oh, you are? Well, tell you what, send it over. I'll go ahead and do a side-by-side comparison for you, so that you can see the difference. Or, you know what, tell me what the number is, and I'll let's just say, hey, if I'm not at where I'm at, I'm going to go back to the underwriter and have them drop down the cost even more. But I just need to have a copy of the quote so that I can go back to them and, then show them this is what you've got. Mr. Underwriter, you need to drop down your premium. Look, happens a lot, okay? And I don't ever, even if you didn't do this, I don't ever fault the insured unless they have specifically agreed not to do this. But I do not fault the insured by wasting your time or for wasting your time. I don't fault the insured for sharing your numbers. Why? If you didn't ask them not to do it, then that's your fault. Your fault. I mean, the insured, all he or she wants to do is get a really good quote that has as low of a premium as possible with the best coverage so that if they ever have a claim, it's going to be paid for, and they got a good agent. That's what they want. And I do not fault them for taking your numbers and giving it to another agent who they kind of like or trust or have been with for a while. I don't fault them for any of that, any reason. Again, nobody twisted your arm to offer quotes. Nobody twisted your arm to throw mud against the wall to see what sticks. If you get rolled, if you get used as the honesty cop, that's on you. That's your fault. That's your fault. Your fault because you let it happen. So ask the insured in the meeting, Bob, insured, would you please agree not to share my quote or my numbers with any other agent, not on, verbally, face-to-face. Don't send it via email. We just all do a good job ethically. We all work hard. We all come in with our best quotes up front. Would you agree to do that? If we can all agree on that, I'd be willing to move forward with you, Bob. 1, 2, 3. Get the carriers you need. P&C agents, better do it. Better do it. EB, probably not that big of an issue, but the second one's important for both of them. What exactly do you have to accomplish in order to be guaranteed the business? That's it. Third, will you, Bob, agree not to share my numbers with anybody else? Make sure they say yes. And then I would say, Bob, thank you for this. I mean, this is exactly the process that I'm looking for. You're exactly the type of a client that I'm looking for. Someone who's ethical, someone whose word is their bond. I appreciate that. And I am going to do my best and work really hard for you. And so that's what I would do before I go forward with a quote. Now, let me talk to you about reminders, my friend. Reminders. You know what's good? I don't know about you, but I have my cell phone, I have an iPhone, and I use the calendar app all the time. I have all my one-on-one coaching, clients are blocked off on it, any kind of complimentary conversations I have, just lots of appointments. It's just on my calendar. All of my one-on-one coaching calls and basically all my Zoom calls and stuff like that, I all have set for a 5-minute reminder. It just comes up and it reminds me. Why? Because I'm just not smart enough to remember everything, period. There's just too much, just like you have too much. I just can't remember it, so I need reminders. Reminders are good. Why? Well, because I was aware of it when I set the appointment, but that was 2 weeks ago or that was last week, and I don't remember anymore. And I've got lots of other calls today, and I don't remember who's next. So reminders are very important. And guess what? They're pretty important for your prospects as well. Why? Because you're likely meeting with your prospect 30, 45, 60, 90 days beforehand. And guess what? They might have said something to you that they were thinking, yeah, this is true and legit, but they just completely forgot about it. Completely forgot about it. Or they can't remember who they said what to. They might have said, yeah, I said that to you, or maybe I said that to you, but I actually talked to a few different agents and I can't remember who I said what to. So, just sorry, but I don't remember who I said what to. Yeah, I think that's legit. They probably talk to lots of agents because I know you talk to lots of insurance buyers, don't you? You might meet with some, you might not meet with a bunch, you talk to some. So they probably do as well. So I say, as soon as you get done with that meeting, you send an email to the insured. You get back to the office, you send an email to the insured, thanking them for their time, summarizing everything that you kind of discussed. And then the end of the email, sort of a PS statement. PS1, here are the three things that, we agreed that you would do for me in order to move forward in the quote. You gave me access to these three markets, and I'd list out these three carriers and say, please make sure nobody goes to these. Just these are the three that I'm working with. PS number two, you agreed that I had to accomplish this in order to be guaranteed your business. And then I might even put a parenthesis. Not that you would just consider it, but that you would agree not to renew with the current agent or anybody else. And then list out what it was. I got to accomplish, 5% savings, and I have to offer this, roofer safety program. Great. List it out. Third, say, I really just appreciate you being a person of integrity, and agreeing not to share my numbers with anybody else. Thank you for agreeing to that, Bob. Based upon, your word, and I believe you're a person of ethics and good morals, I'm willing to move forward based upon this. Thank you for being a straight shooter with me. Looking forward to working hard. Send the email then. Send it. And then one reminder is not enough. Maybe you're one of those people that kind of like, you get a reminder on your, maybe your alarm, you just hit the snooze button and then it has to like go off in another 6, 7, 9 minutes, something like that. You got to hit it again and hit it again. Sometimes you just need multiple reminders. And guess what? So do people who are your prospects as well. So I would say just sending that one email is not enough, not even close to enough. You have to remind them every time you have a telephone conversation with them. You might even just send, I would say you should send follow-up emails as well. If nothing else, just kind of letting them know where you're at in the process, working with those three carriers. And Bob, I just thank you for like saying I had to accomplish A, B, and C in order to be guaranteed your business. And, thank you again just for being someone who's not going to share my numbers. I'm really spending a lot of time here, working on this. My team is as well. I'm trying to do a really good job negotiating, spend a lot of time putting together the application. Thank you for not sharing my numbers with your current agent. I'm looking forward to eventually meeting you real soon with our actual proposal. Just remind them about what you're doing. This is important. And then let's just say you finally get all your quotes in. You're putting together your proposal. It needs to be in there as well. I would say it needs to be page number 2, right after your cover page. Your cover page probably says the name of the insured, the dates, the date you're actually doing this, and who's part of it, whatever it is. You flip that first page, boom. All it's going to say is those three things on that piece of paper. It gives you a chance to remind the insured in the meeting face to face. Say, Bob, remember when we first met? I just again appreciate you being a straight shooter. You agreed to give me these three carriers. As you're going to see from this presentation, I've got quotes from these three carriers. Looking forward to going over these with you. The second thing is that you said I had to accomplish A, B, and C here in order to be guaranteed your business. I am very confident that I've been able to do this. I'm excited. Again, just thank you for being a straight shooter, explaining to me exactly what I have to do in order to earn your business. I appreciate that. A, B, and C. Pretty sure we've got that here in this proposal. And then the third thing, as I mentioned, this takes a lot of time to put all this together. And again, I thank you for being a man of integrity who's not going to share my quotes or the numbers with anybody else, current agent, any other agent. Thank you for doing that. I really appreciate that. You're exactly the type of person I would want as a client, and I'm looking forward to earning your business. And then I go to page 3. Why? Because people forget. And it's just wise, because this all comes down to positioning, and you've spent so much time prospecting. It's hard to set appointments. It's hard to actually get somebody to give you all the information. It's hard to get good accounts to meet with you. Like, there's a lot that's hard in order to make sales something that is actually profitable for you. So why waste your time with poor positioning? You want to position yourself for victory. You better get these three things. If I was an agency leader or the owner or partner who had leadership responsibilities at your agency, I would require that nobody ever gives quotes to non-clients at our agency. That would be the first thing that I would say. We work by broker of record letter only, and that's it. That's really all that's it. Because I actually think there's a sense in which, if I get access to the markets that I know I need in order to be competitive, I kind of look at that as sort of a semi-BOR, because I'm probably going to have them sign a BOR for those 3 carriers or 2 carriers or whatever it is. So even though I might not be able to get the current market, or they aren't willing to give it to me maybe because they don't want to take it away from the other agent, I don't mind that so long as they give me what I want. So if I was in agency leadership, we would not quote on stuff, on people who do not trust us. That's a waste of time. What a waste of time. Your time, producer, your team's time. Your people, your account managers and so forth, they're stressed out. They're working extra, overtime. Agency leadership paying them overtime so that they can do all of this work on a stuff that you don't even have permission from, you don't even have a relationship from. That doesn't make sense to me. So first and foremost, my agency, if I was running your place, we wouldn't allow anybody to actually quote without a broker of record letter in hand. And the only time I would allow for it is if we had exclusive access to the right markets that we already know that we need in order to be competitive, period. Otherwise, nope, we don't offer quotes. Nope, we don't do that. Because, by the way, remember, insurance agents really don't offer quotes. It's underwriters do. We're the ones who collect the quotes. We collect signatures. We collect signatures and serve happiness. That's what we're supposed to do. It's the underwriters that offer quotes. We are not. We don't typically have the pen for anything. So we have to put together the right submission, negotiate on the insurance buyer's behalf, all of that. But why would we do any of that? Why would I do any work like that? Why would I do any work like that for somebody who does not trust me, or who's unwilling to give me access to the data that I need or to the carriers that I need in order to actually win their business? Like, why would I waste my time, my team's time, my reputation, my relationship with the underwriters doing that for someone who doesn't even like me? That's foolish, and you don't want to do it. So I would tell you, stop playing games, get wise about this approach. Whether you're EB or P&C, you follow the process. Get the carriers, get objective numbers on what you have to accomplish, and then get the insured to agree not to share the numbers. If you do that, you're going to see your hit ratio goes up dramatically. And what if it is 2 or 3 accounts out of 10 that you lose because you get rolled behind the scenes, that maybe you can now eliminate getting rolled off of 2 or 3 accounts for every 10 that you might work on? How much additional revenue might that put in your own pocket or your own book of business, individual producer and to agency leadership? What if you required that of every single producer at your agency, where they were each able to write an additional 2 or 3 accounts out of 10 over the course of the entire year by doing this for each producer that you have? Yeah, make the change. Make the change. Absolutely do it, and you will see your profitability go up dramatically. My name is Charles Specht. I am the CEO of Permission Network, where I teach and train insurance agents just like you how to win a $1 million or more book of business. And I do it through signed broker of record letters. This is the Millionaire Insurance Producer Podcast.